Hello, everybody. I'm Angie Setzer, for those of you who don't know, and I'm super excited to come to you today with my friend Eduardo. I'm gonna give him a second to introduce himself here in a minute, but just to bring out maybe a new sort of informative. I don't even want to call it a podcast because it's not a podcast necessarily. Though we will let folks listen to just the audio eventually as it goes forward if it works, and we'll just see where it goes. But we wanted, Eduardo had reached out to me at the end of the year last year and said we really should introduce something that helps pull the curtain back on what is taking place in South America, what is happening in the US, and really what's going on around the world when it comes to cash grain movement, and all of the factors that we're watching that influence price. We all know now that the world is there, the market is a global market, far more than we've ever seen before. And so we're excited to come and be able to talk about the things that we're seeing, what's happening in cash, the rumors that we're hearing in trade, and really what we're watching for the week ahead here as we wrap up every week together. And so without further ado, Eduardo, kind of fill everyone in on who you are, where you are from, and what you specialize in.
Hello, Angie. Hello, everyone. My name is Eduardo Vanin, and I work in Brazil in Agri-Invest Commodities, which is a brokerage house. My role here is the consulting for clients here in Brazil, industries, farmers. Agri-Invest is a 37 years old company, and we deal with more or less 12 up to 15 million tons of corn, meal, and soybean inside of Brazil, interior, FOB, and custom freight China soybean. So that's I'm very excited to give to our listeners some insights from Brazil, which is very important at this time because of the soybean and then the corn planting. So I'm very excited, and I think it's going to be very fun.
I am a long term, I'll say long time, but I'm into my 2 year, I think, subscription now to Agri Invest. And I will say, and Eduardo didn't pay me a penny to say this, but it is some of the best information out there about South America. And so I am excited because it is one of the there's only a handful of must-read market analysis, pieces that come out anymore. In my opinion, a lot of them are repetitive, not I'm not picking on anyone. It just feels like you read the same stuff over and over again. And Eduardo is definitely one that has shaken it up for me, and really improved my ability to see the world market for what it is, or at the very least, how Brazil's grain movement influences things. I've said it a few different times that just because it shows up on a balance sheet, just because the USDA is predicting it, or because we know that we have it, doesn't mean that's exactly how the grain flow is going to work. And I think that, going over what is happening with Eduardo here and all of that will help kind of pull the curtain back on all of the little things or big things that happen in cash grain that influence price movement. So without further ado, I'm not going to spend any time introducing myself. Most everyone, I'm Angie Setzer. I've been in the cash grain business here in the US for about 20 years now. And I still every day I'm like, I'm not worthy. I'm surrounded by such smart people. And I am happy to be here. So I'm going to be your comedic relief and question asker for the most part, with a little bit of fill in here as we move ahead. So let's get started. I want to talk about, we're talking about the cash market. We're talking about all that's going on. Tell me what is happening. Let's start with soybean harvest because it's been delayed. Is it still delayed? What is the situation when it comes to bean harvest in Brazil right now?
Okay, Angie. It's been slow. Farmers are picking up, and for example, Paraná, where I live, is it's been the fastest in terms of harvesting and planting corn. But Mato Grosso, and everybody is following talking about that. Mato Grosso is a big is slow, and then now I would say it's getting normal. But the problem is the concentration. So the logistics in Brazil, everybody knows we depend a lot of trucks, and then we have in a very kind of not efficient situation now because Mato Grosso is concentrated all the most part of the trucks we have available in Brazil. So we are experiencing some kind of bad for costs for exporters and farmers in other states, for example, Goiás, which is very important, northern Brazil, everywhere. So it's impacting not only the soybean logistics, but for corn in the spot market in Brazil also. So the harvesting is picking up, is approaching to the normal pace. But now the problem is the logistics. I think in the end we are going to 1 month. We need 1 month more to get this everything in terms of efficiency of the ports, and so 1 month more, and then Brazil will get to the normal in terms of export base, which is still delayed.
What are you seeing for quality then? Like talking about 1 month delay, a delay in some of that. Is there a delay in the beans coming out of the field? And is it impacting quality? Are you concerned about what you're seeing? Like there's been some videos that have circulated on social media, right, of chunks of beans coming out of augers and things like that. I'm going to assume that that is not overly widespread, but is it? I shouldn't make assumptions, right? Is it a widespread issue or is it something that you think, is good for social media play, but really isn't anything that'll impact, everything as we move ahead? Is it limited, isolated?
In terms of quality, in the start of, for example, in Jan, because of the too much rains and very cloud days, and then we had some not a representative, but uh, some damaged beans. So, which is not good for export, but it's good for the industries.
Right?
They
It's
crush
great to
at the
blend,
same
right?
way,
Yeah.
no problem. Bad for producers because they have this discount 1 per 1. So
Yeah.
now the problem is the humidity, which is too high, and then you see that kind of sausages.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, uh, but we have to, in terms of logistics, when you take this soybean and put in the elevator, and then you have to dry up that, so you have to do more turns, and then it's the truck lines.
Yeah.
The result is this: the truck lines get very long, and then you take the trucks out of the supply demand of trucks in Brazil. They take more time to get back to the farms, and then we have this kind of issue. So this crop is being very wet. Uh, then it's not for good for logistics overall.
Takes longer. Yeah, you can blend everything out. Now, did I read right that in Mato Grosso you need 35,000 to 40,000 trucks in order to properly
That's it.
facilitate? You'd put that in. Okay. I wanted to repeat it one day and I'm like, oh, I better ask. I better make sure I read that right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
lot of trucks. That's
It's a lot
crazy.
of things.
And so
Yeah.
are freight rates still rising? I know here a couple of weeks back we had a conversation where freight was had increased 90 cents or so per bushel over the 2 weeks because of the inability to source trucks and some of these other things. Are you still seeing the rates increase or have they kind of stabilized at this above normal level?
Okay. It's been very, very. Everybody expected
Okay.
we could see higher rates, so trading is prepared for that. But the point is, it was too fast.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, cents per bushel. We saw a from 50 cents per bushel up to more than $1 per bushel increase in terms of rates. This week is the peak of the year.
Okay.
I think we are going to see 2 or 3 weeks in this kind of very high truck freight rates. So I think April will be more close to normal, but at this time it's going to continue very expensive.
Interesting. What does that mean for the cash market then in soybeans? Are you seeing the producer take a hit on what they are getting? Is the producer the one that's eating the increased cost when it comes to putting beans into the pipeline now? Or what are you seeing from a basis standpoint overall in the cash market as a whole when it comes to soybeans?
Brazil got more expensive. If you back to, for example, December, and then we
Mhm.
had a higher effects, so real was devaluated.
Yeah.
Now it's stronger, and the freights to Feb and March projected was cheaper than now. So in terms of basis, it went up.
Okay.
The replacement, so the
Yeah.
cost to take these beans and move to the ports and then to China. So Brazil got more expensive, and then China is paying now more than the we had in start of the year, for example, 50 cents more. So in normal times, we should see more purchases out of the US because the this delay, and then
Mm.
Brazil is getting more expensive, but it's not a normal times.
Yeah, yeah, we haven't seen, right? We haven't seen China come in and really, but so what is your thought on that? Because we have not seen any sort of panic, right? There is a thought you've got a really, really sharp inverse in the China cash market and in Brazil too, right? Your front months are a lot stronger, at least trying to push the market in. April forward, it gets a lot weaker. The same could be said for China. They started offering 2021 soybeans out of reserves yesterday. I think it was like 6,000 metric tons or something. Nothing really to write home about, but 100% of it was sold. There are rumors that they are going to roll out auction off 4 million metric tons or so in China. What are your thoughts there? Is China, is it not normal times because China is worried about the trade war and they don't really want to do the business with the US because they know that they can make purchases from Brazil later on? Or do you think it's not normal times, not necessarily because of the trade war, but because they want to do a turnover of stocks? They weren't able to auction anything off last year. They tried to auction off soybeans however many times and, 20%, 15%, not really much in the way of clearance. Do you think they're doing it just so they can clear or maybe it's both, but what are your thoughts on why China isn't working to actively cover this short-term physical short that they have?
Yeah, but that's the we have a lot of
Right?
of
The
fake
million dollar
news in
question.
China. Yeah. That's a very important point for feed industry in China because they are not losing money. They are trying to pass through the higher cost of soy meal. In 2 weeks, the prices went up 30%. So, but the point is, the poultry industry and the egg industry, they are losing a lot of money. So the feed industry today, it's a rumor, they applied a kind of, claiming, asking for
Mhm.
soybean auctions, and the industry also asking soybean meal auctions.
Mm.
And then the rumor is next week we are going to have 2 million tons of soybean.
Is that what it
But
is? Yeah.
the point is, when you talk about the reserves, it's a very spread. We have a lot
Mhm.
of beans up to the north of China, but consumption is not there. So we have to move this soybean to the south or southeast, where the consumption is. which is not easy
Hmm.
in terms of time, logistics, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So I think it's very limited. This 2 million, okay, suppose it's 2 million. Then the most important is the quality, the crop year, and the location and
Hmm.
the price.
Yeah.
So that's the point. Then in the end, I think okay, they can try sell something, but the time frame will be very short. And then when Brazil start shipping in terms of good amounts, good volumes to China, and then they shut this opportunity to sell the reserves.
Yeah.
So I think we are going to see something. They need that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to watch. Last China soybean question, and then I want to talk about corn. Um, are you still seeing or hearing of slowdowns on customs clearance? There was some concern that you would see some issues, or we had heard issues. We'd had a handful of Brazilian exporters that had kind of had their hands slapped by China. It said that they had found what treated seed, I think was the rumor, and pests in beans, and that's not a mild accusation. That's not something that you can just say, "Oh yeah, treated beans, no big deal." Those are major problems. It does sound like they're going to be back open, able to ship, and all of that in the beginning of March. But are there any concerns about a slower customs clearance, and what is driving that, if there are, in your opinion?
Of course, we have. This is a unique opportunity for rotation the reserves
Hmm.
to make money and replace with cheaper soybean from Arge or from the US. We had this kind of opportunity since 2022 or something. So they have to create a kind of situation to have this lack or short squeeze of protein in
Hmm.
China, and then I think it's part of that. Most part of this news, these rumors are not true, but the point is the northern ports of China, which are the most important in terms of volume, they are taking 1 month to unload discharge of soybean, which is a long time. It used to be 7 up to 10 days. This is because of the quarantine certifications in China. So it's not new. It started last November, and and last week rumors again that people that in charge of the quarantine certifications, they are being pushed to follow the rules, which is increasing the uncharted times in China. So uh, the opportunity is now to
Yeah.
sell much as they could of soybean to rotate the reserves.
They're doing all that they can. All right, let's
Yeah.
move to corn, because obviously that is, I have to like stay back from my apologies to the viewing audience. But let's talk about corn a bit. We've had some concern over delays in planting in Mato Grosso, not in Paraná.
Yep.
Right? There's different areas that grow safrinha corn. Um, do you want to talk first crop corn first and kind of give us the lay of the land on what's going on with the summer crop and kind of some of the tightness that we're seeing, and then go to Safrina? Or do you want to discuss Safrina and then what that, because is the delay in Safrina impacting the tightness in old crop corn that we're seeing as
Yes.
well? So give us the lay of the land in corn. I won't even ask you, but you just tell us what's happening with corn.
First of all, in the sport market in Brazil is it's on fire.
Yeah.
The prices are moving up. We have a lack of supply in the south of Brazil, where we have the poultry and hog industry concentrated there. And the most part of the farm producers, they are very focused on the soybean harvest, so they don't want to know about the corn. And then the trucks. So again, the trucks
Yeah.
concentrated up north, and then we have no trucks coming back to the south. So the logistics are very complicated. So because of that, most part of the feed industry, they were short. They they turned to this year expecting a good supply from the summer crop, and it's delayed because for producers they are harvesting soybean and then they will start harvesting the corn. So we have a very I think it's a short. It's not going to be very this stress
Okay.
go
Long
longer,
lasting.
but we have, I think, 1 or 2 weeks more with a very high price in the spot market. If that goes more and more and more, and then we can see maybe the chance. I think it's 30% only now, but we can see uh, imports from Argentina for the south of Brazil. It's possible. Depends on the this rally if it continues, and then we can see that.
What um what are you seeing for corn demand? Because right, like I think that's one of the things that I think is missed. You and I have talked about this, and you've mentioned it. We have a few friends in the industry that have already also mentioned it. Rory, at Friars Report, Black Silo there has brought it up as well. The USDA versus Brazil. How far off are we when it comes to calculating corn demand in Brazil? And what does that mean for exports? Because CONAB right now is 12 million metric tons below the USDA, almost what, half a billion bushels? I mean, I'm gonna have to do my math again real quick. But pretty substantially below the USDA. Yeah, 472 million bushels lower than the USDA when it comes to exports, corn exports. What is your thought on that? Like, are we seeing, or do you believe that we'll see a reduction in exportable supply again year over year, or is Brazil going to stay about the same? And what does that mean as we move ahead?
Yeah, I think both are wrong.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yay. I love it.
Maybe in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Konami, they're not being very accurate in terms of production.
Okay.
I think no, it because of the soybean acreage,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
too low.
Hmm.
Then safrinha acreage is the same wrong,
Too low then.
the
Yeah.
same mistake. So it's too small.
Yeah.
I would say for soybean, it's a kind of 700,000 hectares, and then
That's a lot.
part of that should be go to Safrinha, and
Okay.
then Cronab has a smaller production potential compared to the market.
Hmm.
But USD is wrong too in terms of not production. I think it's fair, but the domestic consumption in Brazil. If you take the last September report, and then you compare today the assumption in terms of consumption in Brazil, I think it's 7 million tons in just 4 or 5 reports.
Yeah.
Wow,
Right.
miracle.
It's not a small amount.
Yeah, it's a big number. And then and I think it's wrong. It's still wrong. So my number is 90 million tons of consumption in Brazil. USDA, if I'm not wrong, it's 87.5 million tons.
Yes. Yeah. Right up there. They just bumped it up last month.
So it's because the ethanol. So
Hmm.
it's growing too fast. It's very difficult to follow that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of plans popping up and expansions. And the point, a interesting point is the plants they have to purchase corn uh, way before the plant's ready to operate. For example, we have some plants that are going online in 2026, they have to buy safrinha this year, not the next.
Okay.
So this kind of consumption is not in the market, still is not. So we have a so many wrong assumptions in terms of how large is the consumption.
Right.
And the result is this: we have no stocks right now. We depend 100% on the summer harvest, which is not flowing normally.
It is an interesting point to make on the stocks that you say, like not to interrupt you, but I want to kind of give the audience a view of what that, what it really means is just based on the USDA update. And so we can say that, they're missing two and a half. If you say they're missing 2.5 million metric tons of consumption, basically that would put you at 0.34 metric tons of corn left over to ship if we kept their export number right, which we both kind of could say it's probably too high.
Yes.
That's 13 million bushels is what, and based on the USDA's current projection for ending stocks, it's a bit higher because they are missing, or they are calculating a bit differently, but they're saying 100 million bushels. Basically, your ending stocks are 10% of what we would consider pipeline minimum. So 1 billion bushels of corn in the US is considered not enough at the end of the year. And you guys have 110 million per the USDA currently, give or take a few million. But yeah, that's crazy to think about.
Yes, and then the point is we don't have much corn, cheaper corn. We have now Argentina becoming cheaper this
Mhm.
week, but it was expensive for the last 5 months. And then all this demand is going to US. So US is selling to South Korea, which is not coming. Um, Japan is coming for sure, but Vietnam, Thailand, all the Asia, North Africa. So the point is how maybe USDA is still wrong in terms of export program in the West. Let's say Argentina now they have incentive to sell more because of the retention reduction. The inverse, and then Brazil, let's see if tradings will keep offering cheap corn August, September, which is depend on the April weather. So April weather here in Brazil will be the key for CPOT also for the futures. If we have for example, a so-so weather in April and very dry May or frostus, and
Mhm.
have all this kind of risks on the table, and then maybe more demand will go to to the US.
It's funny that you say that about April. That's been the time period that I've said for my growers. We saw March corn here, on the CBOT move above $5, and everyone was really excited. But I felt like it's one of those where we probably remain relatively range bound unless China comes in right now, because we've removed the risk of a safrinha planting problem, really, because the next 2 weeks you're probably going to normalize. Do you believe you'll normalize your planting safrinha, like the crop is going to get put in the ground, the safrinha crop, or do you think that there'll be reductions?
Oh, yeah, protection, no. Actually, we are going to see very likely we're going to see a larger area because of
Hmm.
the cotton producers, because it's too late and too risky because of the cost. And then they are moving part of that, and it's not so big, it's around 70,000 hectares, something like that,
Hmm.
to corn.
Okay.
So acres will be the same or larger, but the point is the amount of corn producers in Mato Grosso planted during January, which is the best.
Okay.
The yield average of this corn sometimes pull the national yield to up, and then this year Mato Grosso planted during this very good window only less than 10%. The
Yeah.
normal is a third.
Okay. Okay.
So
So that's something
that's
to
a
watch then. Yeah. And then April weather will
We
be the
have
thing that
two,
really matters. April, May, right?
yeah, we have
Dryness
two,
and frost. Oh, go ahead, sir.
sorry, we had 2 points. One is the Mato Grosso producers, they plant in just a small part in a very good window. And then the April, because everywhere is delayed. Not Paraná. Paraná is good. So
Mhm.
it's the best in terms of, will be the best corn this year, for sure.
Paraná.
But we have this good yields are not going to, we are not going to have this year. And then the April, May weather, which is very important. Too risky.
Interesting. What are your thoughts? This is my last question on safrina, but margin wise, is the Brazilian farmer making money planting safrina corn then? They pretty much do as long as there isn't a crop failure, right? Is it one of those, or tell us a little bit about that margin wise for safrina planting. Is it good for the grower now?
Yes, it's been good in the average price we have. And the interior. Ethanol plants, they are keeping the prices high. And exporter, right now, because of the effects, the real got stronger. They are not competing anymore. They are not being able to originate cheaper, and because of the freight. But in overall, the profitability is good. They are making a good money. We could imagine, so they're selling, the farmer selling, maybe it's been good. No, they are, they learned in the last few years they have to hold corn, sell beans because of the quality, because of the window, because of the cash they need. And then they learn to hold corn for the second semester. Then, but short answer, it's good. 20%, 30% over the investments. So pretty good. For example, in Paraná, it's 50%.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
good
So
margins.
yeah, not bad at all. For sure. Well, we'd kind of targeted 20 to 30 minutes as our initial conversation. And I know right now we're working our way up towards that 30-minute mark. I think even though it doesn't feel like it, like I could listen to you, like I have a million questions. And so it's great that we're going to start doing this because I will be able to ask them. Just as we call it a week here, what's one thing or something that you're watching? Something that you think matters, I guess let's leave it with that. Leave the viewing audience with that. Like, is there anything else that we should be thinking about in your mind, that you're paying attention to right now that you feel we might be missing?
First of all, the weather for Rio Grande do Sul, the south of Brazil, which is not good. One important point is we started the estimate of soybean production in Rio Grande do Sul. It was 24 million tons. Because
Mm-hmm.
of that, many people believed at the start of the crop we could achieve 180 million tons of production in Brazil because of the Rio Grande do Sul. Now they're talking about something around 16, 17 million tons top. So this is a cap. And then the next year, the next week, we are going to see not so good weather. The heat, it's going to be not so high as this week, but no rains. The GFS and European model changed. Uh, there was a forecast of rains for this weekend, and
Yeah,
now it's
it's
split
gone.
to next one. So this is a important point. Argentina also the same in terms of weather, and the other thing is China. The rumors of the fake news. So we have to see if we are going to see this 2 million, 4 million tons of soybean auction.
Yeah. It'll be fun to watch. For me, I'm watching, I think we'll see here in the US a continuation of basis starting to strengthen. or potentially the spread action, the March May right now is a little wide to get us through. Of course, as we work our way forward, the commercial, the elevator has been able to buy a lot of corn. The US farmer is thought to be 80 to 85% sold in some circles. And that is huge. That is a lot of corn that's worked into the pipeline that has created some signals in the market. We saw basis weekend, we saw spreads widen on the front end at least. But you look out the May, July is still pretty tight for, comparatively speaking to the March, May. And you look at the July, December that's heavily inverted still. There's a lot of things to watch in this cash market that I think will be really interesting and give us more indication as we move ahead. Once we get into delivery on the March contract and start to really see how the commercials lined up, and whether we see a continuation of really strong export demand and how that influences basis as we move into March and April will be huge for me. That's what I'm watching in corn. The March May corn spread says that we have way more than 1.5 billion bushels of corn, and the May, July, and the July forward says we have way less than 1.5 billion bushels of corn. And so it'll be interesting to see, in my opinion, which one is right. We won't know for a long time, but it'll be as we work our way into delivery into the month of March, start trading versus the May, it'll give us more insight there, I believe. On the bean side, I'm going to watch the same thing. We've had a really sharp push from the farmer into the pipeline. A lot of beans have been sold to generate the cash flow that folks needed, especially when the market rallied, and so that had depressed basis. I have seen basis firm in the deferred slots now for US beans, which will be something to pay attention to, especially with the carry that's in the market. But from an overall standpoint, we're going to be slow. We're going to be watching trade headlines. What does Trump do with Ukraine? What are we looking at with peace deals? What are we looking at with trade deals? Treasury Secretary Bessent speaks to China today, so that's probably going to be something that could matter. So we're not going to be short of things to talk about. That's a good thing. So
Our market is amazing in terms of we have always have something to talk about.
I don't know if I'd ever told you, but I went to college to be an English teacher. I was going to
Oh yeah.
teach high school. And I decided halfway through my sophomore year, my second year in college, that I didn't want to do the same thing every year for the rest of my life. I didn't want to teach Mark Twain every September. I wanted something that was going to be different and exciting. And so I think the universe laughed and gave me this because it is different and exciting every day. Like you can't,
Yeah,
no
I think you had
complaints.
a very good choice. Yeah,
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 I
you
prefer
made
it.
a good decision
I
for
think
sure.
so. I think so too. So, all right. Well, on that note, I think we call it a week. I appreciate your time. We'll be back next week. Audience, listeners, whatever. If you have any questions, reach out. Let us know. We'd love to have a question and answer section that we can kind of help to shed more light. I say we, Eduardo, can help to shed more light on what is taking place. But yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. I'm already looking forward to next week.
Sorry, the connection cut off.
Oh, I said I enjoy, you can't see me either with the sun. I said I enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to next week.
Okay, okay, so, sure. Next week, and then the older week, the first week of March, and then we have the Carnival in Brazil. So it's going to be very dead.
Oh,
So.
yeah. Jealous. Love to maybe make a
Carnival in
trip.
Brazil is something like in China, similar in terms of
Yeah, you
it's
guys
cheap,
just shut her
the
down, right?
whole,
You're
yeah,
done for
everything.
Carnival. Yeah, we don't do that here in the US. They don't like us to take time off. They just keep
Yeah, you are right. You're right. Definitely.
you just keep going.
Don't do
So,
this. Don't do this. Carnival is for for people like Brazil that
oh, we love
uh
it.
they love parties and
Here in the US, we have something similar, but we call it Fat Tuesday. So it fits, right? Like that, you have the fat, that's, we'll talk about punchkis the next time around. I'll introduce you to our special donuts that we have. So, but yeah, on that note, we'll call it a week. We'll be back next week. I appreciate it and looking forward to talking to you guys again soon.
okay. See you.
See ya. One second.